everybody. Welcome to our Ultra Coffee Morning. I'm Sandra Ewers. Give me a thumbs up to let me know you're okay, because I know these are really difficult times. Just give me a thumbs up. And one good thing for me is that the hairdressers are open. I don't know about you guys, but I know that I can get my hair sorted out.
Hair?
So, we are an Ultra Coffee Morning. We're UltraVision TV, and we're going to let you know how you can win one of these mugs at the end. Can I ask that everybody has their microphones in mute, just so we don't have any interference? And I'm going to introduce our guest. Let me ask you, what do lycra, unitards, a bum bag, and a headscarf, and maybe a headband all have in common? Yes, you've guessed it. It's Mr. Derrick Evans, aka Mr. Motivator. Welcome to our Ultra Coffee Morning.
Thank you. How come you missed out? Handsome, good looking, all those things. What happened?
That's coming. That is just coming. I don't even have to say those words. We can see you. You look amazing.
Thank you. I've just finished a Zoom class for a load of people, and so there's a bit of a rush. I want to apologize to anybody out there who I held up, and hopefully we can make it all worth your while.
No, we're just happy to have you here. Welcome. And I can see your top says fabulous. I like that. I'm fabulous. And you are fabulous.
Thank you.
So, now listen, look, you've been motivating, encouraging, inspiring the world for what feels like maybe 20 to 30 years. But how did you start into the world of fitness?
You know, it's such a long journey. And I say this to every single person out there. Our lives can be an example to other people. Because the stepping stones that we go through to get where we are is never where we ever planned in our wildest dreams. I'm so far removed from anything that my careers officer expected me to be. I mean, he said, Evans, all you're ever going to be good for is working in an office. That was his vision. That was in the 60s. And in fact, they almost tried to predict what would happen to you. But I did things out of necessity. It was all about, well, look, how do I put food on the table? When you've been homeless and when you've got a one-parent family, when you're a one-parent family, you do what you need to do to actually make sure that you put food on the table. And you've got a choice at that stage. And in fact, I have to say the temptation of crime and stuff like that was always in the back of my mind. I kept thinking, you know, that's so easy to go that route. But I kept working away. And eventually what happened was that there was a day when I walked into a leisure center after doing, I don't know how many different jobs, and there were 200 women exercising. And that was a kind of light bulb moment for me. And I think it's probably the same for a lot of people. You know, there's a light bulb moment in our life when things collide and you go, that's probably what I should be doing, right? And you start on that journey. And I have to say initially, I never saw television happening. I just saw that the opportunity was there for me to do something different to everybody else, because I'd seen lots of people doing fitness, but I believed I could be different and better.
I like that answer. And obviously I'm in the fitness world. I've come into it pretty late. I've had my light bulb moment. So I do understand that. And not, it doesn't have to be fitness. It could be anything.
No, no matter what it is in your life. I mean, you know, as I said to you, it's a question of seizing the opportunity. Because when I walked into this leisure center and there's 200 women working out, I didn't think to myself, well, this could lead to me being on television. All I saw was a business opportunity. So I thought, with 200 women exercising, that's my market research done already. We know that there's a demand. So let me try and find a place where I could replicate the demand that's going on. And I went away, found an old church hall, set up my own classes, got two ladies from the front of the class to start teaching it. And I was at the back making notes and watching what they were doing. And they were doing a thing called pop mobility, which means as soon as a different track of music came on, you moved to it differently. And after about 3 months, I thought, this is me. So I kicked them out and I started teaching the classes. And the popularity spread like this. It just mushroomed, and I would get people traveling 20, 25 miles to come to my classes. We filled up the hall, and before I knew it, we were into a huge hall which could hold 125, 130 people exercising. And don't forget, I'm talking about 1985 here.
And that's amazing. I can't believe that that's so long ago. Well, I'm showing my age now, so long ago, because I grew up watching you on TV, going to work.
Everybody grew up watching me on television.
Well, you certainly you kept me going. Look, the name Mr. Motivator, I know what it means, but did you come up with that name?
You know, what happened was that after the way the story progressed is that after I started doing these classes, I got really well known. And one day out of the blue, the British Heart Foundation called me up and said, look, we heard about your classes. Would you like to start doing some classes for us in leisure centers, just talking to people about the benefits of exercise? And I thought, well, I don't know anything more than what I'd learned from these girls. So I sat down and started scouring the world, finding out where there were courses or whatever it is, and there weren't any courses to do with exercise. And the very first book I bought was called, it was to do with aerobics by Dr. Cooper. And that became my Bible. And every single video I could find, I would be learning from those. And then with the Heart Foundation, we went around the country with me talking to people about exercise. Television heard about this, and I got invited onto a daytime show just to do a small slot where they sent me out into the marketplace to try and get people moving. And whilst I was out there, I heard Judy Finnegan on This Morning saying, we're now going over to The Motivator. And that was it. After that, I thought, that's what the name is. That's what it needs to be. And that's how come Mr. Motivator was born. So I registered it immediately to make sure nobody else would get it. Thank goodness I did.
That's amazing. So Judy Finnegan, we owe her a lot then.
Well, we don't, because, you know, at the end of the day, when someone opens the door for you, if you don't have the ability when you go on the other side of the door, the opening of the door means nothing, right? And essentially, that was just the beginning of the journey. But that was also the beginning of difficulties, because in those times, it was very difficult to be a regular face on television unless you were reading the news or you were a comedian.
I do agree with that. Is that as a black face or as just as a, in general? Because I know that I know that there were issues getting into TV. They were certainly looking for somebody, a certain person. Did you find that?
Yeah. I mean, yes. Look, it was there. But you know what? When it comes to, I always view things as obstacles. They say obstacles are what you see when you take your eye off your goal. Now, for me, right, seeing them saying to me that it had to be a lady with 2 kids, not a black man doing fitness, it didn't put me off. All it did was delayed me. And all the while I'm looking for an answer. How do I do it? How do I get to the point, right, where in fact I could say, well, accept me, let it be. And I know that in television in the world, you will go to the same person and one day they're no longer in that position. And when they've moved on and someone else is in there, maybe they arrive with an open mind and they all of a sudden will let you in. And that's exactly what happened. You end up in a position where someone has an open mind and say, look, let's give it a go.
Like that answer. Yeah, that is, I'm finding that myself, obviously, within even the radio, TV world, how, let's say, fickle it is. And, you know, you've got to kind of sometimes be in the right place at the right time. And have you found that as well?
Well, I think, you know, that applies, to be honest, to everybody. I think, you know, you've got to persevere. They say the price of success is perseverance. And if you keep on going and keep on going, eventually it opens up for you. Then there's a time when things collide. Michael Jackson, his biggest moment was Thriller. And all the world collided at that moment, and it became the biggest selling single ever. He tried to replicate that as the years went by, and he could never replicate that moment, because in that moment when things happen, all worlds collide for you. It's just up to you to have your eyes open. You have to be ready. You have to be receptive for that opportunity. And then you've got to seize it, because no one owes you anything. No matter what color you are, no matter what race you are, it doesn't matter. No one owes you anything. You owe it to yourself. There's no saying, don't wait for your ship to come in, swim out to it. And essentially, that's what we have got to do. If you ever want to achieve, be successful at anything, what you've got to do is keep on persevering, because the successful man is the one who continues just after the failure says it can't work.
That's really good advice. And I know that it's good advice for the young people as well, because I know the youngsters think that they deserve everything in their hand, but they've got to work for it. And you do see that. They just think they want it now, but to get it, you have to do some work.
Yeah,
and I think that's a very, very positive message. Yeah. Tell me, like, I know that it's quite sensitive. I know that as a child, you were given up for adoption. Is that true? And as a baby?
Yeah, but it's not sensitive. You know, there was a time in my life when it was sensitive to be told that, look, you're adopted. My adopted parents didn't actually physically do a document or whatever it is. They saw my mother in the marketplace in Christiana in Jamaica, and my mother had me on her arm, and when they walked over, they looked in and they went, oh, what a pretty boy. And of course they would say that, wouldn't they? And
very pretty.
Can we have him? Can we have him? And my mother said yes. Now, they never changed my name. They were called Rose and I was called Evans. And that went on a lot in those days. They brought me to the UK. There was a point at which I was actually kind of a little bit resentful that my mother gave me up. And I always remember when, after 93, when I became well known, I was being interviewed on a radio station, and I said exactly that. I resented my mother giving me up and stuff like that, and never ever coming back and trying to find me and see if I was okay. And I remember a gentleman writing in, and he said this. He said, Mr. Motivator, you need to focus on where you are in life, right? And if you're not in prison, if you're not in hospital, if you're not dead, whatever decisions were made for you was the right decision, or whatever decision you made were the right decision. And that has always remained with me since 93, because if you think about it, all of us go through hurricanes in our life, either a broken relationship, maybe we've had difficulty in just making ends meet. All those things happen. But they happen for a reason, and they become the foundation stone for who you are. And later on, there's no point you looking back and going, I wish that didn't happen. You must focus on where you are. And if right now you're healthy, you're not in hospital, you're not in prison, if everything's okay, well, then the decision my mother made for me was the right decision, because she could have struggled and really worked, to try and manage and try and cope with me, right? And who knows where I'd be. All I know is the decision she made for me has turned out really well, because I have a family, I have 4 grandkids, I have people around me who love me. So therefore, it was a good move that she made, and I thank her for it.
Congratulations on the grandchildren. Did you ever, may I ask you, did you ever go back and look for your mum after all that happened to you?
Yeah.
Or
When you're in the media, things happen. I mean, I'll give you a couple of things. I'll always remember, look, there was a point at which I was homeless. I was over in Hackney, and I had nowhere to live, and I was actually staying in a bed and breakfast, and with loads of families, and I had my daughter looking after her at the same time, and it was really tough at those times. Then there was a point at which where I didn't have work, and I was doing whatever. I was cleaning toilets in Tesco's. I was a CNA, which some of you guys won't remember because you're too young. I was a CNA, right? Sweeping up. I was stacking shelves, right, in stores. I was on a building site for a while. I remember one time I had my own building company. I had my barber jacket and my boots on. Knew nothing about building, but there I was running a building. What was I doing? I was trying to just basically put bread on my table. And if you follow that through with everything I've done, right, things happen as soon as I got known. And when I got well known, I remember the very first week I walked into a restaurant, and after ordering my food, the gentleman said to me, I didn't have to pay. And I said to him, what do you mean? No, it's okay. He said, no. You bring so much joy to me in the mornings when I see you don't have to pay. Now, before that, when I was homeless, if I went to that same restaurant, nothing would have happened. So you get well known, and then the press gets involved, and the press print a story saying Mr. Motivator is looking for his mother, who's called Enid Richards, and stuff like that. Nothing goes like it. But that's what they did. Before I knew it, her daughter, who was living in the UK, saw the name, put 2 and 2 together, got in touch with her in Jamaica, right, and said, do you know someone called Derrick Evans? And she had to admit then, this is the first time she had admitted. I was 45 years of age then. So I got my eldest daughter to fly to Jamaica to go and check her out. She called me back and she said, yes, I think it is your mother, right? From all the tick list you've given me, it's your mother. So I went down to Jamaica, the press in tow, television station, everybody. We arrived at the gate, had this mass reunion. And I have to say that it was a bit like meeting a stranger. Because who was my mother? My mother's the person who was there when I needed my nappy changing, who was there when I was crying, who was there to put that plaster on when I scuffed my knee. My incubator is actually, yes, you could call her my mother, but she's not really. It's the person who was there, right? And so we're getting to know each other, but not in the same way as mother and daughter, because when you're 45, mother and daughter, I'm going to have to change. But when you're trying to get to know someone, it's a bit like meeting a stranger, because in my mind, what I'd always visualized is that I would find out where she lives. I would be across the road. I'd be looking in. I'd be seeing her maybe sitting around the table, cutting the Christmas turkey. And I'd go, well, she got her kids around her and stuff like that. And I'll wander off. But with the press involved, it didn't follow that route. So it was all a bit contrived. And I have to say that we're close, but not that close. I respect her as my incubator. And I respect her as the person who brought me into this world, but we're not mother and son. My mother is the person who was always around, who's no longer with us, right? That's who it is.
I understand that. It's quite a heartwarming story, but I do understand that. And looking at my own history as well, it was like people were adopted and half brothers and sisters. It is who looks after you, it is who brings you up, that you sort of learn to love and respect.
Yeah.
So look, when you were with GMTV, it was 1993. Were there any disastrous moments? Were there any memorable stories? You met a lot of famous people. We saw you on TV all over the world. What was that experience? What is there something that you can pinpoint and say, I love this moment?
You know, when I joined GMTV in 1993, and it was after trying and trying and trying, and I had ended up, right, because I got well known for these huge classes, I got invited onto a show that Chris Tarrant was doing called The Main Event in 1992, and it was happening in Manchester. And I flew up to Manchester. On the airplane going up, there was Eamon Holmes sitting on by the side of me, right? And also the Green Goddess was behind me and Mad Lizzie. Now these are people I'd kind of idolized throughout the 80s. And I thought I could do better than them, I could do better than them. But there they were going to be on the same show as me. Eamon got talking to me and he said, listen, I heard that you'd done a slot with Gloria Hunniford, which I had done. Gloria Hunniford had asked me to come on a Sunday show to drill about 12 guys doing exercise, which I did. After we had finished it, she'd asked me would I come to her home and start training her. So I used to travel from Mill Hill, where I was living, all the way to Sevenoaks in Kent 3 times a week. It used to take me an hour and a half to get down there. I traveled all the way down there, but I didn't mind because it's like my feet had this own energy. And I didn't know where it was leading, but I felt that if I did this, maybe opportunities would open up. Sure enough, she had mentioned to Eamon Holmes that I was training her. So on the airplane, he got talking to me and he said, look, would you like to train me? I said, yes. After the show finished up in Manchester, I got back to London and I never got in touch, but he kept calling me every month. And about 3 months later, I said, okay. So I'd arrived down the TV studios at South Bank and I started training him. And we used to run down by South Bank. Before I knew it, all the presenters on the morning show came down and started training with me. So I had Lorraine Kelly. There was a weatherman called Simon Biaggi and a weather girl as well. Everybody was training with me. So I had a whole group of them. And you can imagine they were well known. I wasn't. But all the offices around, there were queues, there were loads of people all at the windows looking down at me with all these presenters training. And one day I'm in reception waiting for them to come down. I looked across and I saw this gentleman walking in with a big stomach. And I don't know what got into me. But I got up and I walked over to him and I prodded him in the belly. And he said, what are you doing? Leave me alone. I said, you need to sort that out. You need to get fit. So he stormed off. So I asked the lady on reception, who was that? She said to me, he was a program controller of GMTV. I said, what office is he in? She said, well, he's on the 5th floor. So next day I got my exercise bike and I came in, got in the lift, went up to the 5th floor. Those days they had no security on anything. Got up to the 5th floor, pushed my bike into his office and ran away. And about 3 days later, I went back, I knocked on his office and I said, listen, you got my bike in here. He said, why are you hounding me? I said, listen, I've done my research. I found out you're the controller of GMTV. I believe that you should be exercising because you've got 200 people looking after you. Let me do it. So he said, okay, I don't have time, so we'll have to think about it for the future. About a week later, I went in and I said to his secretary, listen, he's ignoring me. He keeps saying there's no time, but if he doesn't make time, there won't be any time in his life. And she said, look, he should train. So I said, book me in. So she booked me in for the next week, Tuesday. I came along to train him and he was dressed in his tracksuit and we started training. About a month later, he said to me, anybody who can get me exercising can get the nation exercising, because I didn't think I would want to do it. He said, but it's not going to be easy because the advertisers do not want to advertise around a black man doing fitness on television. So I said, well, you know, I don't understand that. He said, look, but things have a way of changing in television. I'm going a long way to answer your question. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
And so anyhow, after all that happened, about a month later, I happened to be upstairs waiting for Eamon when I heard a lady on the phone speaking to the Key Fit Association saying, look, we'd like you to come in and do the fitness slot on television. Look, Peter McHugh has spoken to me about it, but the advertisers won't allow a black man doing fitness on television. Sorry, it can't work. I said, look, she said, look, don't worry, things have a way of changing. A week later, she called me up. She says, look, the girl who's there doing the fitness at the moment is going on holiday. The advertisers have said, for 2 weeks, they'll give you the chance, right? You go on, do your thing, right? And at the end of it, we'll see how it goes. She said, but you need to come in for a rehearsal. I said, but I don't rehearse what I do when it comes to fitness. I just go by how I feel, put my music on, I just do my thing, right? I've always got an army, a library of different exercises I can do. She said, well, the director needs to know which camera angle to use and stuff. So you need to come in. I said, okay, how about if I come in and you take me downstairs and show me? So I came in the next week, they took me downstairs, 5 cameras around. I said, how do I know when the camera is on me? She said, well, it normally turns to red and it's on you. I said, okay, how about if I speak to the camera like I'm speaking to her indoors? So I go, okay, come in close, here's the biceps. Okay, we're going down on the floor, follow me down to the floor. That's how we did it. So the first slot I did, I went on. The world blew up. As we know, everybody wanted more and more of this motivator guy, right? And all of a sudden, the advertisers now wanted me. They were queuing up. St. Ivel, Matt Vitti's Go Ahead. Everybody was queuing up. They wanted to actually advertise around my slot because GMTV was at the bottom of the ratings. Channel 4 was beating them. They had an animal called the rat, Roland Rat.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Number 6, right? But as soon as I came on, the ratings were doing this. So on the Thursday of that same week, after I did my slot, I came upstairs, the program controller came out. He says, we think you've got all your friends calling in. Because the phone lines have been jammed all week. Every slot you do, we don't believe we think you're engineering it. So we're going to give you a second slot. So I went downstairs at 9 o'clock and did a slot into the rain slot. And the phone lines are again jammed. So after I finished that, I came upstairs. And I'll always remember I'd been working out to a Bob Marley track. And as I came upstairs, right, he came out the office and everybody in the office stood up. There were 200 people, stood up and applauded. And he said to me, can you come into the office? I just want to talk to you. He said, we want to offer you a job if you're interested. I said, no, I'm not interested. I said, no, I'm only having a laugh. He said, we want to give you a job, right? And that was the beginning. After that, every single Hollywood star who came into GMTV wanted to share my dressing room or work out with me, from Luther Vandross to Cindy Crawford to Meatloaf to name it, every single person. They were flying me around the world. I would go 1 minute, I'm in Vegas, on the main street in Vegas, the closest strip, with a Hello magazine, with 2 people from the press office following me around to make sure I didn't say anything wrong, right? And they milked me for 5-6 years, literally around the world, which I enjoyed. It was lovely. But who could have planned that? I'm the guy who's going to be working in an office. I'm the guy who, in fact, right, was homeless. I'm the guy who was a 1-parent family. I'm that person. So to everybody listening now, I say to you, you know, dreams do come true, but you've got to make it happen. You can't wait around. And don't get put off by every single obstacle that's going to be placed in front of you. Right? That mountain, you've got to focus on climbing to the top of that mountain. When you're here, that mountain looks horrible, it looks foreboding, unless you're way away from it and you look at the perspective. But I'll always remember, right, a reading that when you get up to that mountain, right, what you're looking for in life is way down there, and you can't necessarily see it from the top of the mountain. You've still got to go down to the valley, come back up and climb all these different mountains till eventually you get what you're looking for, right? And that's what we've got to do with no matter what we're trying to do in our life, is just keep on working away. And I do that now more than ever. I'm always coming up with ideas.
We definitely know that you're very, very positive. And I always want to call you, I know your name is Derrick, but I call you Mr. Motivator before I call you Derrick. So but tell me something. You've just come back, because we're in lockdown. We're sort of slowly coming out of it. And you've been on Health UK Live, I believe. You were walking the dog. You were doing it all on there. And for a man of, I've got to say, 67, you look good. Now, look, what are your plans in terms of Health UK Live? Are you going to be working with them, or I mean, has that taken off?
No, it's so funny, life, right? Because GMTV, you would have thought that with the lockdown they would have brought me back to appear on GMTV. That didn't happen. I have to be really thankful to the BBC, because they, from last year, have been working with me, and I've been going to all their different local radio stations, talking online to people about looking after themselves, but also not just focusing on the physical, which is what I tend to be known for on television, but to talk about the deeper side. Because no matter what you're aiming for in life, this bit up here, if that's not in gear, you're never going to succeed. You ask any athlete, if they fail a particular day, it's because they didn't have their mind. They weren't, you know, when they arrived at the starting line, they just didn't feel right. So that's always been my focus, is to talk to people about the importance of how you mentally approach everything that you're doing. So I went around the BBC radio stations doing exactly that. So we had a real close relationship, and they saw the wider side of what I did. So when they they said to me, look, would you like to appear on the show? I said, okay, I will do it. But I had to be able to do more than just the fitness. I will make it functional fitness, because the one thing I recognize, there's lots of people online right now doing Buster Gut moves, doing all kinds of stuff where you rip a muscle and stuff like that. I have never been into that, because my message has always been, do a little bit of what you fancy. You'll build up a sweat. That's good enough. The muscles love work. So do a little bit. And then if you want to go further, you can. So if you come on a Saturday and do my Zoom workout live at 10 o'clock each Saturday, it's just a fun, a big laugh. This station gave me the opportunity to also do more than that. So I did life lessons and stuff. And there's talk of my own show and all that kind of stuff is in discussion at the moment. There's a new world that's opened up to me, because in this lockdown, I came into the UK in March from Jamaica. I had 20 festivals booked, and all of them got cancelled. I had loads of companies. I was doing Salesforce presentations where I'd go along and talk about life. They put me on at the death hour at 1:30 when everyone's had too much to eat and drink. And they say, motivator, you're the secret weapon here. We'll bring you on and you can talk to them about and put some music on and motivate them. But what did I think? I thought, you know what? Here's an opportunity for me to do something virtually. So I set up doing a 10-minute exercise class and a 10-minute chat. In fact, sorry, it's 12 minutes and 12 minutes, called the Daily Dozen. I promoted it to companies and offering it to them as a way of keeping in touch with their staff. My first client, right, turned out to be Talk, who got in touch and said, look, we'd love you to do this. So I did a 12-minute talk and exercise for them, which went well. They rebooked me again. Then before I knew it, Cadbury's, I've just done Cadbury's this week. I've just done a pharmaceutical company called Ipsen. I've just got a company in the States, 60,000 employees, who wants me to do 3 days of it. So this side of it, of talking to companies and really kind of lift people's spirit, has now become a new market for me. In fact, I actually don't have to leave my kitchen where I'm at the moment. It's all done from the comfort of my kitchen. It's like a brand new market. I'm doing what I love, and when you're doing what you love, you know what? You smile every day. People ask me, are you always happy? Yes. You know why I'm happy? It's because you have a choice whether you're happy or sad. You have a choice right now whether, in fact, you go, you know, oh, it's one of them days, or you go, today's going to be a great day no matter what. And I like being happy, because for every 1 minute that you're sad, you're missing out on 60 seconds of happiness. And I know that every time I smile at the world, my jaws ache. Why do I look good? It's because I believe that there are 4 things that you need right now. Nothing else matters. You need a roof over your head. You need food on the table. You need your health. And you need to know that someone loves you. And if no one loves you, you need to love yourself. And if you have those 4 things, you're blessed. And so every day when I get out of my bed, religiously, as soon as I get out of bed, I count my blessings. Can I still hear? Can I see? Do I have my grandkids okay? Is my wife all right? I don't mess up my relationship, right? I've been with my wife for 30 years. That is the most important thing I've got. I call it a thing, but she's the braces on my trousers. Without it, my trousers are going to drop down and I'll be embarrassed. Right?
I do like that. That's a whole new show. I like that. But that's really positive, and you are an inspiration. And I've got to say, when I work out with you, I don't even feel like I'm working out with you. I feel like I'm having fun, even though I'm getting fit at the same time. Yeah. Now, I'm going to talk about your age, because you're 67 years old. And looking at you, you look like you're about 30 years old.
Oh, say it. Tell me more.
I've got to ask you, is it true that you do, I read somewhere that you do press-ups for every year of your life? So
yes, I've always done
67 press-ups every day then? Like,
yeah. You should, in fact, every one of us should do our age. And if you start on your knees and do it from your knees, that's fine. Right? But after a while, the muscles get used to it. Muscles have memory. So therefore, if initially when you started, you can only do 40, next day you do 42 and you keep improving and stuff like that. So I do that every day. And I'll tell you something. I am convinced that the moment you get your priorities right in your life, you're in the right place. Richness is nothing to do with money, you know. Nothing to do with that. Richness is to do with you recognizing and respect all those people around you, and recognize how wonderfully blessed we are. Can you imagine one of the greatest things we all have right now, and most of you probably have never thought about it as a blessing, is you have a choice. Just imagine you had a choice whether you came on now and listened to me, a choice whether in fact you have a breakfast or not. Can you imagine the people around the world who don't have a choice about washing their hands for 20 seconds or drinking the water? Think how blessed we are. And so if you think of your life, I say to people, you know, your life is, in fact, the best analogy is this, and I'm going to show you and demonstrate. I'll get a sheet of paper. This is important. When I put that sheet of paper up in front of you, what do you see? Everybody sees that black dot. That's what we see. But yes, still, that white sheet of paper is our life. And everything that goes wrong is only a small little black dot in our life. But yes, still, we make that black dot dominate our life. And if you put it into perspective like that, you realize that we're all going to be faced with hurricanes. And those hurricanes can be the disappointment of loving someone they don't love you back, a relationship that breaks up, you get out of work, you have a real hurricane. And you know, if you're from the Caribbean, right, that you can plan for the hurricane coming in. You can block out the doors, because last time when it came in, boy, over there, that's where the water come in, right? You put a bucket in the place where it used to leak, right? And you repair that leak. And no matter how much you make the plans, as soon as that hurricane comes, the water comes in a different place, right? The wind blows from a different direction. But what have we learned? We learned something from the previous hurricane. We learned, right, that we need to be better prepared, right? And so therefore, no matter what is going on in your life, what we need to do is always focus on the fact that it's the building block of experiences. And so therefore, our life is not that black dot. That is our life. That's how blessed we are. And put that into perspective means that you can cope with no matter what the world throws at you, no matter what disappointment hits you, no matter what problems hit you, no matter whether you lose a loved one, whether someone dies or whatever it is, you will cope with it, right? Because the rest of your life is important. And it's important that you focus on that. You have only one life. And if you look after it, it's going to last your lifetime, whatever that is.
I like that answer. I think we definitely all need that right now, especially with lockdown, how people are feeling. You know, we've been up and down like yo-yos, let's face it.
Yes.
But you wrote a book called Warm Up. I've got a copy on my phone. It's on Kindle. I've started reading it. And you wrote that in 2016. How did you feel after that? Was it like cathartic to make you feel great? Well, what was the feeling?
You know, when you have had, I mean, I was married before and that broke up. When you've had a situation where you have a wife who take the kids away and go off to Guyana with them, and I had to really fight and do all kind of conniving to bring the kids back. When you've been homeless, and when you have piles and piles of paperwork that goes back years, right? And it's everything to do with every law, every court you've been in, every fight you've had, it's all piled up. It's a bit like the wardrobe with all those clothes that you don't wear. It becomes baggage. And so I had to think to myself, well, look, I need to free myself. John Bunyan talks about this, you know, great big burden on his back. And often we don't recognize that we carry all that baggage. And sometimes we may store it low down in our memory, but it's there. And it can come out at the moment when, in fact, you should be really receptive or sensitive. It comes out in a negative way. It makes you angry. And so for me, it was offloading. It wasn't about me selling. In fact, I've done very little promotion of the book, because my whole idea was to actually say to my kids, here is my story. If I disappear tomorrow, here is a story of why I fought for you, why I went to court for you, why I did everything I did. Here is what I've had to go through. Because the way I wrote the book, and I'll always remember, I went to, it was the 4 Weddings and a Funeral. It was the opening night. And Richard Curtis, who wrote the book, he walked over to me and he said, on the film, came over to me, he said, Motivator, you need to tell the world how you came about, because we all see you out there, see you happy. You need to tell your story, but don't be in a hurry, he said to me. This was in '96. Don't be in a hurry. He said, because the lots of these celebrities, so-called celebrities, write their book, they haven't even lived. He said, but when you start writing your story, do me a favor. Don't start with I was born, because if you do that, people know the ending. He says, start with where you are, and then keep going backwards and forwards. And that way you take people on a journey of discovery, and they find out things they didn't know. So I took that on board. But what I did was also, is if Derrick Evans is going through a particular stage in his life, there's a little caption with I think it's a little drawing of, I think my head with a cap on. And he'd come in and ask Mr. Motivator, and he would say, if you're going through that in your life and you want some answers, how about doing the following? And throughout the book, that's what I've done. So it's a combination of almost two persons, although it's all Mr. Motivator, telling a story, but also trying to give people guidance and help. I feel like I'm on a soapbox here.
No, I just think that you're, the thing is, you are Mr. Motivator, you're an inspiration. We want to hear those words.
Thank you.
But you lived in Jamaica for, I know I don't know if you've still got a house in Jamaica. So
Yeah.
you've had a couple of a bad experience out there. I mean, my parents are from Jamaica, Cuba, and I love Jamaica. I know it's got its bad moments. Tell us
Yeah.
about your experience there and, the reasons sort of for coming back to England.
Well, I mean, look, there was a situation, and it's in my book. There was a situation where, in fact, a gentleman from here who ran a hardware place, I took him on to build my home in Jamaica. And he was down there. I'd send my money down, and he was building away, supposed to be building away. And every time I went down, I became very suspicious that it wasn't really happening the way it should happen. And each time I came down, he would arrive at the airport. I bought a car, a pickup. He'd arrive to pick me up, and he'd have these young girls in the car and stuff like that come and pick me up. And I didn't think anything of it initially. And then there was one time I decided to arrive there surprisingly, and when I arrived, I realized that what he was doing was he would get all these people to come in to do the work when I arrive, when he knows I'm coming. But the rest of the time, he didn't really do very much. So I got rid of him. And in getting rid of him, he then planned to get revenge. And he came into the home one evening while I was there with my wife, my daughter, and there's some friends who came up with their kids. And in fact, they were gun holders. They were, but they put their guns in the room upstairs. I wasn't a gun holder. And 8 people marched into the home. They came in through a side door, 8 people. Only one of them wearing masks, which how stupid a criminal he is. One of them wearing masks, like, I wonder who is. Oh, right. They came in and tied us all up. And then he seemed to know that there was a safe in a small little room that I had downstairs. And he brought the safe over to me. Well, I'd stopped putting money in that safe because I realized that, in fact, things were going missing before. And only the builder knew of that safe. And so he came over to me and he said, where's this, where you keep your money now? Where's the safe and stuff like flashing into my face. So I said, well, it's not there. There's another safe, right? And I'll take you to it. No, your wife must take you to it. I said, no, she can't go. She doesn't know the combination. You must go. So one of these guys, they had a gun and they were flashing a knife in my face and stuff like that. Anyhow, I went upstairs with 3 of them, opened up the safe, and there was money in there. There was US and there was pounds. There was lots of money in there. And I also had lots of jewelry. Now, those days, this was before GMTV, right? I used to have a business where I sold costume jewelry. And every time I went to Jamaica, I used to take a load of this costume jewelry down and give it to him. When we opened the safe up and took the jewelry out, the first thing he said was, is this costume jewelry? Oh, man with the mask, you've just given it away. I know who you are. I know who you are now. When he realized what he said, I said, pardon. He shut up. He wouldn't say anything more. So straight away I knew. I thought, let me keep silent. Who it is. So we'll go back downstairs, tied us all up. I could hear them in the fridge and stuff like that, go through the whole home. And they're loading up TVs and everything and stuff like that. And I could hear them going out. And my daughter, who was really young then, said to me, Dad, why are these men doing it? I said, look, they're just bad guys. But one of the guys took a pillow, brought a pillow over and put it under her head because they're on the concrete floor. Put a pillow under her head and said, everything will be okay. Don't worry. Just stay there. Right. And I thought, anyhow, they left. When they tied my hands, I actually did it like this. So it wasn't tied properly. So I managed to get myself loose, loosen everybody. And I ran out and we couldn't see them quite because it's dark, but they disappeared. Called the police, everything. I had a friend from England, right, who had come down to work as my sales manager in the business down there. His family were inside one of the units, but they didn't have a clue what was going on. Anyhow, next day the police came, the whole lot. We were okay. My daughter was traumatized, and my wife, everybody. We just felt like sleeping in one room, and that went on for a long while. It kind of spoiled my taste of Jamaica, but I still persevered with it. At my daughter at age 19, which is 4 years ago, she came to the UK. I wanted to bring her up here because I was really kind of unhappy with the way things were in Jamaica in terms of respect for women. the amount of things that were going on, a lot of stuff which I can't even talk about on here. So I decided to send my daughter to Canterbury to study. And then I said, my daughter then had developed type 1 diabetes, which means that she has no pancreas, so she has to inject. So I decided, instead of her calling down at 2 o'clock in the morning and say, Dad, they haven't got any insulin at the hospital, and my wife would jump on a plane the next day. So my wife came up and we decided to rent. My wife moved up and I continued with things down there, trying to persevere with things. My business was, it's like a miniature Go Ape where people can zip line and paintball. We kept that going. And we employed a lot of local people. My whole aim was to actually make it so that local people had a job, right? And I'd find people who really were, a lot of them are criminals, a lot of them are on the road, and they became people I employed, and I tried to empower them. We had at one time about 22 guys working for me. Most of them just had never dealt with tourists. The result was we had some go off to work on a ship, some go off to get married to tourists and stuff like that. That was my vision, trying to impact on them. And then after a while, about 2 years ago, I realized that I was pushing water uphill. Because I love my Jamaica, but there's some people in Jamaica I just don't love, right? I mean, I'd go back to Jamaica. I mean, I'm there all the while, every month. I'm down twice a month. I haven't been there since March. But there are people down there I just don't like, who believe that there's a shortcut to everything, who believe that when I plant my field full of yams, they're entitled to come and reap it, right? Who believe that when I've got my cow in the field over there, they can cut it up and put it in the back of a taxi and drive off with it, right? Now, when people go down there as a tourist, they get a wonderful feel of Jamaica and they leave feeling good. But the reality, you've got to face up to reality. I've lived it. I've been in Jamaica for 21 years, right? And as I say, if I know what I know now, I say don't go down there. I would say don't. And I'm sorry, I can't be any other way because of the experience I've had. It doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop there in terms of the experience I've had. I'm only giving you a taste. You can read a load more about it in the book.
I understand that, and obviously I go to Jamaica for holidays, and I've been to certain parts where I'm not on holiday, and I know how it differs. And that there are issues out there, and hopefully, let's hope for the future it will get better, because we do.
I hope so. They're close to the edge, they're close to the edge.
They are on the edge at the moment, and that's a whole new show, I think, even talking about Jamaica. How long have you got? I'm sorry to hear all those, this what you did go through.
No, don't be. As I said to you, that's a foundation stone, right? That makes me stronger, right? It means when I go out there, I'm actually far more aware. I don't take things for granted, right?
It certainly does make you aware. But may I ask you something? Because we're going to get open up the lines in a minute and get some questions from our lovely audience. But what, in terms of, because we've got coronavirus is still happening, regardless where the death rate has gone down, we know that, and we're thinking of all the families there. But what about the nation now? Because this surely must wake people up in terms of getting fitter. I'm a person who had type 2 diabetes. I lost a lot of weight, and I'm looking after my health 100%. How can we now get the nation fit again?
Well, I don't believe that the lockdown has anything to do with people getting fit again, because the problem always existed beforehand in that, only, look, of the over 65s, you realize, ask any over 65 about the importance of exercise, and the research was done late last year. The majority of them said there's no point, which is stupid, because we're all living longer. And therefore, we need to look after ourselves. Now, a lot of people may have felt lethargic during the lockdown. There have been a lot more people exercising from home. But is it more new people exercising from home? Probably not. Probably not. The lots of research has just been, I've just been reading a Bupa research, which shows a lot of people are getting injured. All right, so that means there must have been a lot more people doing exercise at home, because 36% of people who started exercise have actually developed back problems. So we have a responsibility as trainers to make sure that we teach people about what am I feeling when I'm doing this? What am I feeling when I'm doing it? Which muscle am I working? What should my posture be like? What do I do to change my posture? Do I put an orange between my shoulder blades, squeeze out the juice to change my posture? We need to engage people and empower people. The virus is no different to every single hurricane that we're going to face for the future. So therefore, we're coming through it now. And we should all applaud ourselves and go, you know what, well done. We've managed to get through it. We're here now. Bring on the rest of it, right? Because we must be closer to the end of the tunnel than at the beginning of the tunnel. So therefore, let's now look forward to the future. What am I going to do about myself for the future? I believe that what you all need to do is to get more active. What does that mean? Take up a habit, maybe continue the hobby you started. If it's dancing, continue dancing. If it's going for walks, go for walks. If it's going up and down the stairs, keep that going. If it's joining a class, do that. Whatever suits you, do it. Just think about the 650 muscles in your body needing some kind of movement, and just do as much as you can.
I like that answer. I'm definitely I'm on it, you know, I mean, that's what's kept me going through lockdown. But what we're going to do, because we're sort of coming close to time now, I'm going to ask anybody, we're going to say, Derrick, thank you very much, first of all, because hopefully I'll get a chance to say another word to you in a moment. But we want to open up the lines to our audience, because I know that there must be people that want to ask you things. I mean, I've got millions of questions still, and I'm hopefully you'll come back and talk about your book again.
Not a problem, anytime you want, right? Because I mean, the life stories exist, and I think people can ask. But before you go to that, well, let me just say this to you, and I had to give this as an answer to lots of people out there, and it applies to everybody here now. You know, we've got to stop this prejudging of people, right? Because until you have walked a mile in their shoes, until you see what they see, until you hear what they hear, until you feel what they feel, until you know what they know, until you experience what they experience, right? You will never know what that person is going through. So let's try and avoid prejudging each other and just be a bit more understanding of each other. Because that day when they come over annoyed, shout at you, scream at you, it's because they may be going through something that just needs a bit of attention from you. And that attention could be just you saying, look, you want to sit down and have a cup of tea? You want to go for a walk together? It's just you changing your voice, changing the intonation of your voice, and being a bit more understanding to each other. Yeah?
I do like that. I've got to say this to everybody out there. And, you know, even I've been prejudged about my weight, everything. I lost weight, but no one knows how difficult it was for me to lose the weight. And it was all about health. That's what I always have to remind you, that I didn't ask to lose, but I lost weight for a reason. And that I still had my own turmoil and having to deal with all that. So nobody knows that. And even when I speak to my husband, he's like, nobody knows that you were stressed out. And, you know, every day I've got to work out what I'm eating and you know, the difficulty in it all. But, you know, I keep going because for the grace of God go I love life. But guys, look, I'm going to open up the lines. Does anyone have any questions for this amazing man, Mr. Motivator? Look, you know, this is your opportunity. You'll not get this again. This man does not, you know, he's a busy man. So does anyone have any questions for Derrick today? You do, you can open up your lines and ask away. Do let me know. And if you don't, I'm going to, oh, I've got John Techman has got a question. John, do you want to unmute yourself? Welcome, John.
Hi. That's really fascinating. Thank you very much, Derrick. And it links to what you just been saying about prejudging, because my expectation when I signed up for this morning was it's going to be loud and brash and a lot of, you know, fun. You probably get us all up doing stuff. But you've been very different, and you know, Derrick Evans seems to be a very different person to Mr. Motivator. I just wonder, do you ever feel kind of trapped in that alter ego, or do you make the two work together?
You know what, that is a very good question, John, and really welcome. Thank you so much for joining in. Look, I've been asked, do I draw a line between the two of them? No. To thine own self be true. And I think it's important, right, that you recognize that I believe that in the early years of my life, Motivator was fighting to get out. But he didn't have the ammunition of 67 years of university life, right? In terms of that university of life, where I've learned so much. And I believe that I'm now equipped to say to you, look, I'm probably older than most people listening right now. And when you have gone through the things I go through, you realize that Derrick, thank God for Motivator, because he reminds me that Derrick Evans sometimes needs lifting up. And when he gets up in the morning, Derrick Evans gets up, he has to put on the Motivator hat and go, you know what, today's going to be a great day no matter what. So I don't really draw a line between the both of them. I use them always. And if you mention to anybody Derrick Evans, they go, Derrick Evans who? Who's he? Right. So there you go.
That was a really good answer. John, thank you very much for your question. Thank you very much. That was a great answer. Yeah, and I do, obviously, as I say before, I see Mr. Motivator before I see Derrick Evans. I can't help it. And if I said to someone, and I've told people, Derrick Evans is coming on, they're like, I said, Mr. Motivator. Oh, Mr. Motivator. We think that's your name, I'm afraid. Have we got any more questions for Derrick? Well, I'm going to ask Patricia, have you got a question?
Angela.
Yeah. Hello, Mr. Motivator. You're an inspiration. You were always famous for your brightly coloured keep fit gear. I've got visions of you with a walk-in wardrobe of all of them. Do you still keep some of them from the old days? Have you got a whole wardrobe of them?
More than that, Patricia. So good to see you. You know,
Yeah,
the
nice
thing
to
is,
see.
right, it's all a marketing ploy. When I went on television, I'd seen people on there in their black shorts and white top. Where are they now? I learned very early on that it's important in the way you market people if you want to be remembered. If I'd gone on in my black and white shorts and clothing, you and I would not be speaking today. Because I believe that it's that package that I've put together of the bright colors and stuff. So what I do every January, I fly to Miami, downtown Miami. There's a beautiful fabric store which has 15,000 different types of fabric. And I'm like a kid in a candy store. And I choose 50 different outfits, and I need to buy at least 3 yards of each. But once I've done that, I fly to Jamaica, and then I've got this guy in Brownstown in Jamaica, right, who makes up all my suits for me. And I normally make up around 40 to 50 suits that I have. So that way you'll never see me in the same one. And so this morning when I was doing my Zoom call, which you guys, you must check me out, follow me on Instagram. This color is this color today, right? So I was in that. So, and then what I do with the old stuff, I get charities asking for me to give them away. So I sign them and give them away to charities. But I've got probably still a couple of hundred around the place.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And you know what? I like those trousers. And the other thing is I need to let you know, and I shouldn't be hooking you up, but Patricia also, I know this lady well, my sister. She actually is a very good seamstress. So if you need anything made, let her know because she can make it for you.
And I'll have to go down. I'll have to go down to Miami as well because I was there 2 years ago.
You're on.
Yeah,
listen, all the stuff I wear, because I wear all this bright colored trousers and stuff when I'm out appearing, I have it all made because as far as I'm concerned, I strive to be different. That's just me. Because I want when you look at me, you feel like smiling. I'm so blessed. I look at on Twitter, I have never had anybody put anything bad, derogatory, nothing. Every workout that goes on there, every comment, people go, you make me feel good. I had one yesterday from this lady who said to me, Motivate, I'm so close to the edge. I really feel I can't go on. She said, because I came home, right? And when I came home, my husband said he's leaving me after 10 years. And she said, my world is broken up. She says, I don't know what to do. She joined in the class today, right? And at the end of the class, she said to me, she wrote to me and she said, you know what, I came on, I was in a mood, I didn't really feel like doing it, but now I feel so happy. So I wrote to her and I said, I just said before I came on to you, I said, look, in life, good things have a habit of falling apart so that better things fall together. Shall I repeat that? Good things have a habit of falling apart so that better things fall together, right? And I've seen that in my life. I've seen where things have fallen apart, right? You think it's going to be good, but next minute, a great opportunity has opened up. And I said that to every one of us. Don't focus on what's just gone wrong. Focus on the good that's to come.
I do like that because I know that I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Patricia, and thank you very much, Derek. I love that because
Angela had a question, I think.
You know, it's great what you've just said. It's you're an inspiration to us all. May I ask you, what are your future plans? That's my question. Have you got future plans? Is there another DVD coming out?
Well, here's the thing, right? In terms of my plans, I actually hate planning. I like doing things immediately because life is so uncertain. The only thing we're certain about in life right now is right now. Okay, that's the only thing. So tomorrow is a big birthday if it happens. There's a number of things because I've been asked to do so much. I mean, I've got the NHS in Birmingham who are devising a program for people with heart problems, right? And it's all to do, and I work with a lady in Ireland, a doctor in Ireland who's worked on all my videos with me. A lot of people don't realize my fitness videos are still the biggest selling fitness videos in the UK, right? Because I believe that people never have to question the credibility of what I'm trying to teach them to do. So I'm developing this program for people who may be subject to heart problem or those who have been through heart problems, right? That is going on. I've got a load of companies who want to work with me on doing talks and doing these exercises. And also my Saturday morning class, Zoom class, is great. I do free workouts that you can get onto YouTube any time of day. They're 12 minutes. Just do it. Do as many of those 12-minute sections as you can. And then on Saturday, I do a live one at 10 o'clock, which you can all book into, right, and do that one. I've got loads of charity work I do. I mean, listen, I'm doing everything, Sandra, because I believe you get older when you stop being young. So I'm actually only 12 years of age.
I like it. I like it. But listen, and the other thing is this: I've watched those workouts on YouTube, and I see Palmer, your wife, who you call Palmer, with tins of beans and all sorts.
Yes, yeah.
I like that. It makes it just feel like it's workable. I can do the workout because I've got tins of beans. It makes it for human beings.
Yeah. No, she always worked. You know, when we met, she came along to my gym that I used to have in North London, and she straight away. That's how we kind of bonded after that. And so since 1989, she's been behind me and beside me and with me and stuff. So working out with her is a natural. I don't even have to say I'm going to push my left hand forward. She kind of knows immediately, right? And so we have so much fun working out together, living together, sleeping together, waking up together, breathing together, right? She's my best mate. And so therefore, why don't I, push that message out there and stuff like that. So she's always on screen with me, no matter who I'm working with. She's always there at the side, and she will show people the alternative. So no matter what your physical ability, you can still take part in it, right? Angela wanted to ask a question, Sandra.
Angela, so I didn't see that. Angela, sorry if I missed you there. What's your question for Derrick? Thanks,
Don't
Angela.
worry, I've just been conversed with Patricia, because the exact same question I was going to ask you about those outfits. I was thinking, do you know what? I can still remember them, because I remember when you first started. So I'm not as old as you, but I'm just not short of old as you.
I'm not old. I'm an elder statesman. Get it right.
Elder statesman, then. My apologies, but
you're going to be able to get my unitar soon, because I've just done a deal with this company who's going to be marketing all my gear and stuff, and I've got a range for ladies, real bright colors, right? I mean, they're off the charts, and I just think that's what we should do, because it does make you feel good when you're wearing that. When you wear dark colors, come on. You feel down, but when you're wearing the bright colored t-shirt, it radiates onto your face and you feel better about yourself, right? I'm wearing white today, which is unusual, because I mean, that was the color. There's my bum bag.
Oh yes, I forgot the bum bag. That was one of your trademarks as well, wasn't it?
A lot of people ask, what do I put in my bum bag? But the reason why that came about is because initially when I put the mic in, I used to put the mic in my back, and it didn't look right. And every time you went down on the floor, it was always the wrong place. Right, so I came up with this as an idea, right, where the mic goes in here, the holes at the back, so the antenna comes out. And so that way you never know, you never see the mic I'm wearing. And that's how it was born. But I mean, some people reckon I've got in here I won't even say, right?
Well, thank you very much, Angela. You know what, Derrick, we always want to know what was in that bum bag, so the secrets are coming out now. But we're coming to the end, guys. I can take one last question.
I've got one question there, sorry. Mr. Motivator.
Welcome, Travis.
Welcome.
Hi there, Mr. Motivator. My name's Travis. I'm also a personal trainer.
Good to meet you.
What I do, I've created my own kind of gym brand. It's called Gym Fanatic One. It's called GF1 here, my logo here.
Yes.
What I'm trying to do is promote it a bit more. What advice could you do or provide me with to help to promote it at the moment?
Well, all I can say when it comes to business is this: marketing, how you market everything, is critical. And why would people want gear? They'd want it because it's either going to make them look or feel good, or they're following someone that they really kind of admire, or whatever it is. So there's a number of different platforms that you can definitely use to get your gear out there. But the more story you put behind it, the more people feel inspired about it. So for example, if you're GFI, does it mean something? Does it?
Gym Fanatic One. So it's GF1, not GFI, sorry.
Sorry, GF1. All right. So GF1 means something, right? Maybe you need to have a little story about it, right? That actually, so every time when someone buys one, there's a little story, and the story goes, I did this in my life. I went through this, and then I decided to become a personal trainer, and here I am, and I want you to share my journey. I think the more you can take people on a journey with you, right? They feel a part of what you're about, rather than just because anyone can just get a T-shirt with a symbol on it. But the more they can associate with a bit of a story, right, the better they feel about it. And also it starts with your people who you train. They become your ambassadors. So you want to give them the free T-shirt, and you want to say to them, look, if you sell 10 T-shirts, right, you're going to get one for free. So use your ambassador and stuff like that to go out there spreading the word. But you've got the social media set up there. The more you exploit that to the fullest, the better it is for you, right? And you're a personal trainer. Listen, enjoy the journey, mate, because I used to personally train. But let me say this to you: don't do too many clients.
And I've been told that.
Right, and don't keep your rates too cheap. The more expensive you are, and I learned it from all my Jewish friends, right? The more expensive you are, the more people want you. So I was the most expensive personal trainer in the late 80s. I used to charge £75 for 40 minutes. And guess what?
No way, £75 for 40 minutes.
I had a queue of people wanting to be trained, right?
Whoa.
And the reason for, and I only did 5 clients. And what they had to do was they had to commit, right, to at least once a week for 3 months. And they had to pay me up front.
Yes, that's good,
So
smart.
If you're £35, don't matter, mate. If you're £35, do it. But what I'm saying to you, right, is that try to be a bit more, offer people a little bit more than what they can get elsewhere. So even if it's only you put together a little diet or a little sensible eating plan, don't call it a diet, a little sensible eating plan for them. And each person who join you, you give them a sensible eating plan, which says, look, here's a choice of breakfast. Research it on the internet and just make up, you know, plagiarize it. It's not plagiarize, but copy some recipes and put it on there. Make it your own, right? And make them actually think it's worth me paying a bit more because GF is the man and that's who I want to be trained with.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Travis, and thank you. That was a really good answer. I like that. Just to very quickly say to you that someone's just asked what your IG Instagram name is. Can you confirm it? What it is?
Real Mr. Motivator on Instagram.
So he's the real Mr. Motivator. Someone's just sent that in a chat. If everybody wants to, so you can actually follow Mr. Motivator, and I'm following you as well. Just to let you know that Travis is working with UltraVision, and he has his first class tomorrow at 10 o'clock. If anybody wants to join it, and Mr. Motivator, Derrick, if you're free, perhaps you might want to join us and then see what you think as well. So Travis is making his first debut tomorrow on UltraVision, and it was just to say, guys, we're coming to an end now. I want to thank Mr. Motivator, Derrick. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us. Thank you for all our guests and for all amazing questions. It was just to say that we're UltraVision TV on all social media, and we normally pick a winner of one of these UltraVision mugs. Derrick, we normally pick a best question, and we've only got 2 guests. I'm not sure whether the directors would want to give out 2 mugs for our guests that have asked questions, whether that's possible or not. What do you think?
Well, I just think we should ask them a question. I think they should actually tell me what month I was born in. And they won't even know, would they?
I like that.
What? Right?
Well, why don't we put it out there? We've already asked that question. Could we ask? He said it already. The first person that says the year that he started on GMTV. Could we have that and somebody answer it?
Was it
is that okay?
1993.
So there you go. So Patricia, you win the mug, and we'll take some details from you and send you one of these amazing mugs.
Sandra, can I just say this to Travis? Travis, this is going to be your first on television, all right? Can I just say this to you? It's really important, right, that when you're up there, that what you do is you work. Imagine the lowest common denominator of someone at home in terms of ability, right? And that's who you work towards. Anybody who make it that it's not a workout for you. Make it as a workout for her who's watching, or he who's watching. So in other words, right, really be conscious of the fact that there are lots of possibilities of injuries. So every move you do, make sure they can see you clearly. Make sure they can see you clearly. If you're going to go down on the floor and do any floor work, you make sure that they don't have to be in a real horrible position, so they're in a bad position when doing it, because they'll get injured, and then they'll be upset with you. We've got to keep everybody who is watching you exercising safe. So keep it simple. Don't worry about whether you think, oh, that wasn't tough enough. Tell people you can put your feet on the accelerator if you want to go harder, or you can put your foot on a brake if you need to.
Love that advice. So that advice is keep it simple, Travis. Listen, everyone, we are out of time now, so we want to thank everybody for coming along. Thank you very much, Derrick, for your time. We hope to see you again. You are amazing. There are people out there that love you, including myself.
Thank you.
Guys, next week we'll be talking about Black Lives Matter. It's an important topic right now, and Martin, my co-host, Martin Lee's on. He'll be chatting to a guest about Black Lives Matter, so do join us at 11 o'clock next week. Details will be sent out. Thank you very much to everyone for coming, and we'll see you soon. Derrick, can you just stay on 5 minutes after? Is that okay?
Not a problem.
So thank you very much for coming.
Yes, all the best to you, all right? All the best to everybody. Be well.
Stay safe.